Hello, everybody, and welcome to Libromancy, a podcast about the magic of books. I'm your host, Josh, and today I'm talking about Third Eye by Felicia Day. So let's predict the magic of books. Okay, so to be honest, let's talk about this. Well, this is not really that bad of a confession, but I heard about this book on the Sword and Laser podcast. They interviewed Felicia Day. I've always admired the things that I've seen her in, mainly Supernatural and some Buffy. I thought she did good. I liked watching her act. I thought this would be fun. The way she talked about this book, it was hilarious. And just in case you weren't sure, this book is hilarious. So, Third Eye, as you can tell, it's about magic. It's really funny. It does well with tropes. It's got great characters. Some of them I really love. There's one character that I really just didn't like, and I guess I'm the minority because everybody else that I've read seems to really like that character. We'll get into it later, but let's talk about some non-spoiler things. She has an amazing cast for this book. You know, she performs in it. She's got Sean Astin in it. She's got London Hughes, Will Wheaton, Neil Gaiman is the narrator, and he does an amazing job. Like, just listening to this book for the narrator alone is almost worth it because he's an integral part of the story. He's hilarious. The things he's saying are funny, and the way he delivers them is so beautiful. She's got others like Alan Tudyk and Weird Al Yankovic, and I don't know who they played in the story. I have thoughts, but I don't know. And this is like one of my small critiques of this. And this is not a critique of the book, but a critique of the things surrounding the book. It is nearly impossible to figure out who plays who unless you listen to the credits and like jot it down. And I guess it's an audiobook only, so that is something to be aware of. This is audio only. I guess you could say that this is more of a graphic audio because there are a lot of sound effects and like Foley works, and that was done really well. Very nice, high quality to my ears. I don't listen to a ton of audiobooks, but it felt really good and high quality to me. So back to the point I was trying to make. There are tons of good actors. The first couple I really know off the top of my head, the main characters. After that, though, it becomes incredibly hard to pin anybody down on anything. And there's not like, I mean, I guess it makes sense that there's no IMDb for like audiobooks, where you can like look up and see who's playing who and such. But even in like anything, anywhere, there's nothing that says, oh, this person does this, or like, who does Alan Tudyk play? So either we'll never know, or you just have to figure it out. Or it's there and I just kind of skip through the credits because they're the credits, and I'd listened to the first few minutes of it and I was like, okay, I got all the main people that I cared about, and then I learned later that these guys were in it. So I think we're going to just get into some spoilers here. This is a fun story, but as a non-spoiler tease, I guess, before we dive in, this story is about a chosen one who fails. Now, let's get into the spoiler section. So, our main character's name is Laurel, played by Felicia Day. She is the chosen one, or she was the chosen one 15 years ago. The book starts us off with teenage 15-year-old Laurel, where she is being driven by her mom to the site of the last battle. And I just love that these are these things in this book where like some things are clearly just magic and some things are normal, like her mom driving her to the chosen one fight just like she'd drive you to soccer practice or things like that. Obviously, it wasn't just like that because of the whole prophecy and he's going to take over the world and do evil magic. But needless to say, she fights him. Her boyfriend, Ben, is turned into crystal, or encased in crystal and sealed. And Tybus, the bad guy, takes over, sucks up all magic, and basically prevents anyone from having magic and using it in their daily life. She's branded the failure, and everybody hates her because as the chosen one, she failed. Fast forward to current day, Laurel lives with Frank, played by Sean Astin, who is a vampire. A very funny vampire. He's old. He's not old, but he's like older. He's not got the beautiful visage. His fangs never descended. Pretty funny. And she also lives with Sybil, who is a fairy. Now, let's just get this out of the way. I did not like the character of Sybil. I just didn't. The voice actor, London Hughes, she did a great job. She played that very well. I just could not get behind Sybil for a lot of things until like the very end. I just didn't like her. There's so many things I didn't like. I don't want it to sound like a hate fest because it's not. I still really like the book, and I'm not saying that I think the character works. I just don't like the character because she's like super ADHD. She can't keep a thought in her head for 10 seconds. She's proud of the fact that she's incompetent at everything except for having sex and like wheedling money out of people. She doesn't listen to her best friend. She doesn't do anything until over halfway through the book when she finally figures out that she loves Rodriguez, the Will Wheaton character, who is the kind of head enforcer of San Francisco. I don't remember exactly where they are. Yes, it is San Francisco. So she develops these characters and these motivations, but she's still just super flighty and has I know that she's Laurel's friend, and that makes sense. But like, I could not stand to be friends with her for more than 5 minutes, if that, because of her flighty attitude. And yes, you could say it's just because she's a fairy, and she's the only fairy we see, so we'll never really know what the other fairies feel like in this story. But she was a little too much for me. Now, let me just also put this out there. This book, while hilarious, it feels almost a little bit too horny in some instances for me. Like, it's just not what I was expecting, and I didn't feel like all of that added a ton to the book. I'm not saying it hurts the book. Well, I'm saying it hurts the book a little bit, but it hurts the book like a half a point or a point, not like 5 or 10 points. So Rodriguez, the Will Wheaton, he's the Will Wheaton character. He is the kind of head protector of San Francisco. Well, protector, enforcer of San Francisco. He is hilarious and funny. I love this character throughout the whole thing. Will Wheaton played it very well. Let's talk about our kind of startup character here. Kate is, we're going back to who lives here, right? Laurel, Frank, and Sybil all live together. They run Third Eye, the psychic shop. Laurel is the failure. Every year on the shaming day, she gets tortured and beaten and spit and laughed upon. Nobody in the supernatural community likes her, right? So that's kind of our setting. Like I said, Rodriguez is the enforcer of San Francisco, or the whole western coast where they are. And Kate, played by Lily Pichu, who was a streamer, or is a streamer, I think. Looks like she does a lot of things right now. Streaming is one of them. Kate is a phenomenal character. Did great voice work for that. Very preppy and peppy, and she's got that attitude, and she does it miraculously and beautifully, right? So let's get on with the story. Kate comes into her life knowing all about the secret magic world, even though she is a normie, right? Tries to push Laurel to kind of fight back and start teaching her. Laurel's very afraid of failure. I mean, and this is a point throughout the entire book, and we're going to try and skip around a little bit here, but like, cannot blame Laurel for being afraid to step up and fight again. She lost all of her magic along with everybody else. She was constantly under pressure that she was the chosen one, which, spoiler alert for the end of the book, is fake. There is no chosen one. There was no prophecy, right? So she doesn't even have fate on her side, when we'll get to her mom in a second here. But so Laurel is beaten down. Every person she meets hates her, except for her 2 roommates, who are annoying, to say the least. I don't think that's unfair to say, until the end of the book, and then they get better. Sybil, maybe she gets better. Anytime she goes out into the supernatural community, a community where, by all right, she should be welcomed and accepted, she's reviled and hated and, cursed, and then once a year, she is tortured by literally everyone who comes to the shaming event. I, after 15 years of going through that, would be in the same situation, except I probably wouldn't even want to work to get my magic back at that point, right? That is a lot to deal with. Now, I'm not saying that this is not fine in the book, that for her to get over it and to start working, and she doesn't really get over it 100%. But all I'm saying is that in the story, Kate is always like, "Oh, you're such a coward. Quit being such a wuss, like, get over it, just fight." And it's like, excuse you, you had a horrible life of, foster parents and everything. That is a completely different situation than getting beaten and tortured once a year, on the most tragic day of your life. Losing all of your magic, which you didn't have until you figured it out recently, Kate. Right? Let's just put this in perspective here. Now, a couple things I definitely didn't see coming. Did not see that when she unfreezes Ben, that Ben turns into a sociopath and tries to use the same spell that Tybus did to take over the entire world and steal all the magic so that he can be the ruler. But I guess if I was encased in crystal and was fully awake and sentient for 15 years, I would also be a little crazy at that point. Now, Tybus doesn't really factor into the story a lot. He's there at the very beginning. He's there at the very end. Aside from that, not really. Now, let's get on to her mom. Her mom is a character. I could picture her in my mind. She is just horrible. She made up the prophecy, made Dahlia the Oracle release the prophecy as a true prophecy just so that she could get her daughter to be special, and then to fail, when she failed, then that was obviously bad. But like, she's all about the brand, and she's pushing the marketing, and she's like, "Oh, you need to go get your cleaned." And I'm sure every one of us has seen this trope before. I thought it was done really well. You just instant hate the mom, even though like the mom does a couple good things, but it's like, okay, so you did this good, and you did this good, and you helped out here, but does that make up for the fact that all of this is your fault to begin with? Because if you hadn't made the prophecy, Tybus wouldn't have gotten the kick in his pants that he says he needed to like start this fight and this war, right? Like, this is just crazy. Now, a side note again here, I was actually really sad when Rodriguez died, because Rodriguez and Sybil have gotten this relationship, and they're actually starting to like get closer and like actually work on things, and it really is helping Sybil like mature a little bit. I was very sad that Rodriguez died. Excuse me, I just realized I've been saying his name wrong. It is Rodriguez. Now, this was a great story. Frank is just the funny. He's kind of that perpetual vampire who's depressed, but because he didn't get the good looks, and so he's still bald, and he can't turn anybody because his fangs have never descended. And he falls in love with the school's guidance counselor, who also loves the same things he loves: the bold music, the Germanness. She's got the weird stuff. It's hilarious when you read it. I can't do it justice by trying to explain it to you guys. The atmosphere was hilarious. I kind of always had this feeling like the audio work was great, so I always knew where I was. The plot was great. I thought that was really good. They do end up taking back magic. Laurel goes back to the Nexus, the Shaming Day. She's able to fight. There was a little bit with Kate and Laurel where Laurel takes back her magic from Kate because part of her soul that her mom had siphoned off of Laurel put it in Kate, basically torturing a bunch of kids. Not quite, but like almost. She gave them all shellfish allergies. That was so funny. Just throwaway line. Lots of really good throwaway lines here, right? And they had this huge fight and things over that and consent and some misunderstandings where I hear part of the sentence and not all of the sentence. Sometimes that ruins it, sometimes it doesn't. I think overall it was a good success in this book. The story was hilarious. Again, did not love Sybil, but loved everybody else. Frank and his interactions with his lady love were hilarious. His interactions with his brother, Laurel, the character was phenomenal. I just really enjoyed it. It felt so realistic, certain things. Obviously, one thing I mentioned before wasn't that realistic, but like so fun. It was hilarious. It was definitely worth it. Third Eye by Felicia Day was great. And that's going to wrap up my discussion of Third Eye. Thanks for listening, everybody, and thanks to David Hillowitz for the intro and outro music. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, please send those to libromancypod@gmail.com. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. And remember to predict the magic of books.